I'm live. What's up? I'm here. Sorry I'm late. I was gonna start this probably at I was aiming for 3 p.m. But then I realized I had this shirt in the closet, so I wanted to iron it for for Halloween. So that took some time, and I don't usually do Thursday live streams, but I have some personal matters to attend to tomorrow, so I have to do this now. So if I seem a little discombobulated, a little all over the place, you know why. I kind of rushed to get this together. But there are a lot of stories, a lot of solid stories in this live stream that I'm going to get to. Um, Let me just give you a little preview before we get to it. So uh, I'll be touching on a story out of the media in Britain where, I mean, this journalist just tears apart this conservative. You're going to see. Donald Trump Jr. is bothered by Hunter Biden's nepotism. We'll get to that. Joe Manchin, Democratic senator from West Virginia, betrays his own voters. I'll tell you exactly how. Also, Pramila Jayapal calls out centrist Democrats and some other stuff coming up, including TI backing Bernie Sanders. But, all right, let's. I'm going to check the chat, make sure everything's fine, make sure everything's sounding good. Okay, no one's complaining. Fantastic. Let me take a sip of water here. All right. So again, usually these live streams are on Fridays at 3 p.m. Eastern. Today, I'm doing it on a Thursday because I got stuff to do tomorrow. But let's start with something a little fun. So I saw this, and I I don't know what to say. So I'm going to play this clip, and you'll see why I'm laughing. I really don't know what the hell's going on here. Let me make this bigger. What is that? Why did they put the candy on the kid's head? And look, the kid's still waiting there. like, like they're supposed to be. He's like, hey, where's my candy? Like, just watch this. What the hell is this? Trump just rests the candy there. Melania follows suit. And then the candy falls off. The kid's like, where's my candy? Where's my candy, sir? And then, yeah, okay. I had to show that, not because this matters at all. Obviously this doesn't matter at all. But I just don't know what the hell that was. And I'm not sure if anybody's explained it to me. So I saw that. I wanted to share it. It's Halloween. It's a Halloween themed video. So there you go. Let me come back with some important stuff though. All right. What have I got next? I also got a hard stop here in an hour, so we're going to be cramming a lot in. But I'll also take your super chats later, but get them in now because I got to get out of here by 4:30. So get your super chats in as soon as possible. Then I'll be able to have them all ready and read them at the end. But okay. Here we go. Let me set this up. Okay. So Susanna Reid is a host on Good Morning Britain, and she was talking with Conservative MP Matt Hancock, who is also the Secretary of State for Health and Social Care. And she absolutely wrecked him. I never see this in America. I never see this in Canada. This is just incredible. You have to see this. Watch this amazing interview.
20,000 more police.
Yes,
Under a Tory government, 21,000 police officers were lost.
Well, we're putting 20,000 more police on our streets, and I think that is incredibly welcome to people.
That doesn't even cover the cuts, Mr. Hancock.
Well, this is about what we're going to do in the future. And in the future, we're going to have more police on our streets and tackle crime.
No, sorry, we won't even have as many police officers as you cut.
Yes, we will. We're having 20,000 new police officers. In fact, the first 7,000 are already being recruited.
You cut 21,000 police officers.
We're going to have more police on our streets, as I say. It's about focusing on
people's only because
priorities.
You cut the number of police officers.
Well, Boris Johnson has only been Prime Minister for just under 6 months. In that time, he's already successfully got an agreement with the EU, which people didn't think he was going to be able to. He's committed to the biggest hospital building programme in a generation. That wasn't happening until he became Prime Minister. He's committed to 20,000 more police and to increasing standards in schools and levelling up the spending on schools.
Yes,
these are the people's priorities.
Yes, and
there's nothing unfortunate about it. It's a great positive domestic agenda.
But under austerity, Mr. Hancock, you know that really all you're doing is trying to fix the things that you caused.
Do you ever see hosts do this in the mainstream press? Talk to conservatives like this. And this is a pattern conservatives all over the world do. Cuts, 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 cuts. And then when it's the election time, we're going to have a new investment into healthcare, a new investment into public infrastructure, into police. Yeah, everything you just cut, you're just going to now pretend like you're investing back into the things that you just cut out. I mean, this is finally being called out, and he has no real response. He just goes back when she calls him on the fact that they're just that they have a policy to present or to bring in more police officers, 20,000 more police officers. She's like, yeah, you cut 21,000. Like, this is a constant theme with conservative parties, with conservative politicians, and it was amazing to finally see this called out. And by the way, you should follow this guy, Chunky Mark, artist, taxi driver. He's if you want to follow British politics at all, he's great. He also posts his own videos, very entertaining, very informative. So check him out. All right. Let me see what's next here. By the way, I heard a super chat. Maybe I'll just get to it now if I can find it. Steve Thomas, super chat, says, I live 2 blocks from the West Virginia Capitol, and Manchin did more than betray us. He stabbed us in the back. There you go. What's next? Maybe I'll get to my Joe Manchin story now, since we're on the topic. Okay. There's a lot to this. I'm just absorbing what I'm about to present to you. All right. Democratic Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia was on Fox News to say that he would not back the Bernie Sanders agenda, and also wouldn't say who he would vote for between Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders, though it was clear from his answer that it's not going to be Bernie Sanders. So watch this video, and this is based on an interview that Bernie Sanders had with John Harwood of CNBC, where Bernie Sanders said that he would rally voters all over the country, including in West Virginia, to back an agenda that would include like Medicare for all, for example. So if Joe Manchin, under a Sanders presidency, wouldn't support Medicare for all, Bernie would go to West Virginia, rally the voters there to put pressure on Joe Manchin to support Medicare for all. So here's what Joe Manchin has to say about that.
Yes, the Bernie Sanders thing.
Let me just get out of here completely.
Yes, the Bernie Sanders thing. Would you support his agenda?
Absolutely not. And Bernie and I have had many conversations. I think that Bernie brings a lot to the table, makes you think a little bit, kind of gets the blood going and stirring and everything, but it's not practical where I come from. Bernie keeps saying Medicare for all. I said, Bernie, we can't even pay for Medicare for some. I says, right now the trust fund's going to go broken by 2026, and these are people that paid into it and earned it. Now you want to expand it. What happens? So it doesn't make sense at all.
What if he were your nominee for president and it's him versus Donald Trump? Who do you vote for?
Well, it wouldn't be Bernie.
All right, so it would be the president, unless you leave it blank.
It wouldn't be Bernie.
Would it be Donald Trump?
Let's just say I'm going to make decisions based on what's best for my country and my state.
All right. Yes, the Bernie Sanders.
All right. So what the hell? I mean, it's clear that this man is just a Democrat in name only. He clearly is saying here he would not vote for Bernie Sanders against Donald Trump. So he's going to vote for Trump, but he's not going to say that on television because I guess it would make it easier to attack him, though he's already made it pretty easy here to attack him. So why do I say that this is Joe Manchin betraying West Virginia voters? Well, first, let's remember who won the primary in 2016 against Hillary Clinton. Bernie Sanders. In fact, Bernie Sanders won by, what is it? Like 20 points? Like 51 to 35. 51 to 35. So when people tell you, oh, well, I mean, Hillary appeals to the majority of Democratic voters, you know, the conservative base of the Democratic voter. Most Democratic voters, very conservative, clearly support the Hillary Clinton agenda. I mean, you look at West Virginia, conservative Democrats there, they voted for, oh, wait, Bernie Sanders. So it's not liberal, conservative, progressive, conservative. It's anti-establishment. West Virginia voters are populist. They want to see an agenda that Donald Trump pretended to have at points. Donald Trump pretended that he would guarantee health care for everyone. Donald Trump pretended he would bring the jobs back. Donald Trump pretended a lot of things, but he lied. So West Virginia voters would vote for Bernie Sanders. In fact, if there is a race, if Bernie Sanders wins the nomination and he's up against Trump, I'm going to make a prediction that Bernie Sanders would win West Virginia. I know maybe you think I'm crazy, but I think Bernie Sanders, his message is real. It resonates with real voters, including West Virginia voters. And let me just show you another example of that. So actually, before I even get to the video example I'm going to bring up, also a reminder that Richard Ojeda, who ran in 2018 in the 3rd Congressional District in West Virginia, he closed a gap. He closed the biggest gap in the entire country in 2018. So even though Ojeda did not win that House race, that district went to Trump by 49 percentage points in 2016, and Ojeda closed that gap, losing by just 12 points. Out of every single race in the country in 2018, Richard Ojeda, who ran on the Bernie Sanders agenda, closed the widest gap out of any race. Again, showing you another example that the Bernie Sanders agenda is incredibly popular in West Virginia. But here's another example. So in 2017,
American citizen should have health care.
Here we go. In 2017, Bernie Sanders went to West Virginia for a town hall on MSNBC. And let me just show you this piece here where he asks this voter, and watch the reaction too. So this is, everybody in the audience is from West Virginia. These people on stage are from West Virginia. Watch how they react to this answer from this voter.
Your question, I certainly agree with you that every worker,
Right.
whether you're a coal miner or somebody else,
Yeah.
should be entitled. Let me pose this question to fill in to other people. We are the only major country on earth, the only one that doesn't guarantee health care to all people as a right.
Right.
What do you think? Do you think we should join other countries and guarantee health care as a right of all?
Yeah, I think every American citizen should have health care. Some way or some shape or form.
That's actually...
That's a West Virginia crowd. They want Medicare for all. So Joe Manchin's going to have to turn Republican. I mean, that's what's going to have to happen, or he's going to have to be primaried, because clearly he does not represent the best interests of people in West Virginia. So the idea that, oh, I mean, they're conservative voters, right? So they must support a what? An agenda that cuts taxes for the wealthiest, cuts taxes for massive corporations, that defunds programs, that doesn't push for something like Medicare for all, that doesn't push for real transformational change in people's lives, that doesn't push for higher wages. The people in West Virginia are some of the poorest people in the country. Guaranteeing them health care, guaranteeing them a living wage clearly would be a popular agenda in that state. You just need the right candidate to push that. Bernie Sanders is that candidate. It's just amazing. Like the misinformation that continues to be spread out there of how Democratic voters actually feel about the issues. You look at any poll on any of these issues, the vast majority of them show you that the vast majority of Democratic voters support a incredibly progressive agenda. I think I heard another super chat. Let me see if I can get to it now. Okay. By the way, if I miss your super chat, I'll get to it later. I'm just seeing the ones that I'm seeing in front of me, or reading the ones I see in front of me. So this from Ascended says, if you are interested in British politics, check out I Am Incorrigible YouTube channel. All right, check that out if you want to check out British politics. All right, let's go to Don Jr. Actually, let me do Jayapal first, 'cause this is more of a story that I'm just going to read a little bit of. All right. So Pramila Jayapal is now calling out centrist Democrats for their total incompetence on healthcare. So as the headline from Common Dreams says here, Jayapal calls out 2020 Democrats who attack Medicare for all with arguments of Republicans and insurance companies. Quote, what is your plan to bring down healthcare costs over the next 10 years? And what is your plan to universally cover everyone with the same quality, comprehensive care? The only plan that does both, Medicare for all. There are no more arguments against this. All you have to do is look outside your borders. That's it. End of discussion. So if you're watching this and you already know this, you know Medicare for all is the answer. Part of your job now, as somebody who is informed on this, is to inform other people in your life. And the best way to inform people is through arguments that don't put them in a place where they feel defensive. So simply, show them a video of, I have countless videos talking about healthcare in Canada and my experience. Just look up healthcare on my channel or Medicare for all. I'll likely bring up my experience or bring up Canada somewhere in some of these videos. Show them that, or just talk about it in a way where you're not calling somebody out that doesn't agree with it, but just present them with the argument. Present them with why Medicare for all works. The basis of it is that it takes out the profit-making middleman. When you take out the profit-making middleman and you put everybody onto the same plan, into the same pool, that clearly is going to bring down costs. And on top of that, the vast majority of people would save by paying through their taxes than paying to a private insurance company. And the obvious reason for that is because insurance companies exist to make money, profit. So if you take out that profit, you are now running a healthcare system that is solely focused on helping people. That is all that should be required to explain why Medicare for all is beneficial for the vast majority of people, for everyone, really. But if you're incredibly greedy and you're in the top 1%, yeah, you will be paying more in taxes. So I think it's also important to mention that. Don't hide the fact that some people are going to be paying more. No, bring it out in the open. Yes, some people will be paying more in taxes under a Medicare for all system, but those people can afford to pay more because they are the wealthiest people in the country. So how does it make any sense that somebody making 50 grand a year has to pay the same for an insurance plan that somebody that somebody worth $200 million has to pay? It doesn't make any sense. It's completely regressive. So you have to move to a system that actually prioritizes people over profit. So there's always this discussion as well about rationing care. Oh, universal systems have a rationing because there's only so many doctors, you got to ration care. There's also rationing in the American system, but it's rationing based on wealth. The wealthiest people in America have great health care. But if you're not wealthy, then you're in trouble. So the rationing in universal systems is based on need. If you need life or death surgery, you get that immediately. If you need health care, you get it immediately. I mean, when I'm sick and I call my doctor, I make same day appointments. Now, I'm not sure everybody has that same experience, but that's always been my experience. If I'm sick, I wake up not feeling well, I can call my doctor, make an appointment that day. If she's not in, I can go see another doctor in that office, or I can go to a walk-in clinic anywhere. Again, this is just standard. You walk in, you show your health card, you wait for the doctor, you have your appointment, you leave. That's it. I mean, it's that simple. There's not really much to explain. And there's a whole other side benefit to it where it takes the pressure off of your everyday life. So say you don't enjoy your job. Say you're stuck in a job in America that you don't like. Well, you may have great health care insurance through that employer. So you feel like you have to stay in that job, even if you want to, or maybe you do like the job, but you think, hey, this is not really what I want to do. I want to go back to school. I want to do something different, but I have great healthcare through my employer. But under a Medicare for All system, you now have the freedom to leave that job, go back to school, start a business, maybe hire employees, and not have to worry about getting them healthcare because they have healthcare guaranteed to them. There are just countless benefits. And I say this a lot because I think it's an important point to make as well. One of the best selling features I can say about a Medicare for All system or a single payer system is that I never think about healthcare until I need it. And when I need it, I get it. So Americans, they're always thinking about healthcare. They're always thinking about cost. How am I going to afford this? Or what if this happens? Can I afford that? Do I have enough money for these emergencies? Do I have enough money for these co-pays, deductibles, all this crap, all these out-of-pocket expenses? I never think about any of that because there are no out-of-pocket expenses. Now, in Canada, we don't have dental care guaranteed to us, and we don't have pharmacare guaranteed to us. But our pharmacare here is cheaper, and dental care, I'm fighting for it. So we have parties in the country that want to guarantee dental care to everybody. So the only gaps in our healthcare are from not putting more money into it, not guaranteeing more for people. It's not because, single payer in Canada sucks because there's no dental care because we haven't guaranteed it. I mean, it's not because there's that we need private interest to improve our system. No, it's because we need universal dental care. So we need to put more money into the system to guarantee something like dental care, which Medicare for All, by the way, has. But even when it comes to prescriptions, I mean, the most I've paid is like $20 for a prescription. Now, I don't have a serious illness. If you have a serious illness, there are Canadians that have to pay a lot more, but it's nothing compared to what Americans pay. I mean, you saw that video, that whole thing where Bernie Sanders went to, I think it was Windsor, Ontario, and he was comparing the cost of insulin. I think the cost is like 10 to 1. So in America, the cost of insulin is 10 times. I believe it's 10 times. It could be double, but whatever it is, it's a lot more expensive in America than it is in Canada. So you would help alleviate all of that under a Medicare for All system and under a Bernie Sanders presidency. And you need somebody that's actually going to fight for it. And Pramila Jayapal, to go back to her for a second here, she would be one of the fighters in the House fighting for that progressive agenda. She would be an incredible leader to move that forward. And now that I'm thinking about it, she also would be a good VP. So there are many roles that Jayapal could fill in that sense. Let me just read a little bit of what she said here since I kind of went off on a tangent. So Jayapal, the author of the Gold Standard Medicare for All. So yeah, by the way, Jayapal has the House Medicare for All bill where Bernie Sanders has the Senate one. Her bill, I believe, brings in Medicare for All over 2 years, while Bernie's bill brings it in over 4 years. But let's read a little bit about this. So the author of the Gold Standard Medicare for All legislation in the House took centrist 2020 Democratic presidential candidates to task Wednesday for parroting Republican Party and insurance industry talking points. There we go. Talking points in their attacks on single-payer healthcare. Quote, "It is very frustrating to have your own party making the arguments of Republicans and insurance companies," Jayapal, co-chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, said in an interview with the American Prospect's David Dayen. The Washington Democrat said some members of her party who are vying for the presidential nomination are not being accurate in the representations of Medicare for All. Obviously, this man right here is front and center on that. Jayapal didn't name names, but the interview comes 2 weeks after South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg, former Vice President Joe Biden, and Klobuchar each went on the offensive against Medicare for All during the 2020 Democratic presidential debate in Ohio. So, all three of these, Buttigieg, Biden, Klobuchar, they're all lying through their teeth. Just total liars. And Joe Biden is, I mean, they're all egregious, but Joe Biden had a poll done. This is, I think, a month ago now. A poll done internally to see the best way to attack Medicare for All. Their own internal poll showed them that 70% of Democratic voters support Medicare for All. Now, an honest candidate would see that and think, oh, okay, maybe I'm running on this issue wrong. Maybe I should look at what voters actually want, and I should support Medicare for All. Joe Biden sees that, takes a look at the money he's getting from insurance companies in the healthcare industry and thinks, you know what? I know my voters want Medicare for All. Democratic voters want Medicare for All, and the majority of voters in the country want Medicare for All. But instead, I'm going to test these various lines against Medicare for All and see which one works best. And that's what he did, because he's dishonest. He's corrupt. Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg are the worst right now on this issue. And Klobuchar is horrible as well. No one cares about her, so it's not really worth paying attention to. But Pete Buttigieg has the most billionaire donors. All he does is private fundraisers with corporations, with wealthy donors. So he's completely propped up by the health industry, just one of many industries that are propping him up. But there you go. There are fighters in the House. Remember that. Jayapal's a big one, an important one in this fight for Medicare for All. All right. Let me take some more super chats, 'cause I think I heard more. Again, if I missed your super chat, it's only because I scrolled past it, but I'll check back at the end of the stream and make sure I got everybody's super chat. Tokington sends a super chat. Thank you. It's Euro. It's cool to have an international audience. Drazen Elez, I think that's your name, says when Democratic, I don't know what that word means. When Democratic official says something against Bernie, he should respond by endorsing a primary opponent. Yeah. I think he'll do that. Thanks, Dresden, for the super chat. I think, and actually 2 super chats. I think Bernie will do that as president. I think right now, in the run-up, in the primary, it's the wrong time to say you're going to endorse primary opponents, at least openly. I'm almost positive he said that he would do that in a discussion with Kyle Kulinski. But I think it's the only place Bernie has said that he would endorse primary opponents against Democrats. So I agree. He absolutely should. I'm not sure if strategically it's the right thing to say right now if you're trying to court, potential superdelegates, if it comes to that, to a second ballot. So, yeah, I completely agree. I just don't know strategically if it's the right thing to run on right now. But 100% Bernie should endorse primary challenges. And actually, I think he will in some cases in 2020 as well. You have Cisneros running against Henry Cuellar in Texas. You already have Warren backing Cisneros, who's the primary challenger against Cuellar, who is known as like one of Trump's favorite Democrats because he voted with Trump. I think it was 70% of the time in the last Congress. So you have Warren's endorsed Cisneros, AOC's endorsed Cisneros. Ayanna Pressley has endorsed Cisneros. Bernie hasn't yet. Bernie should. There's no reason why he should wait on that, especially since Warren's already done it. So, yeah, I'm definitely down with those primary challenges. Okay, I'll get to super chats again later. Let me get to this Don Jr. story. A man who I never talk about, but this was too funny to pass up. Anytime I see a funny clip from like a Republican, which honestly, when it comes to Fox News clips, they're all hilarious. But this one was, I don't know, especially egregious. Okay. All right. Okay. Don Jr., Donald Trump Jr., was on Fox News, and I say his full name for a reason here, because he was on Fox News where he is clearly bothered by Hunter Biden's nepotism. Let me play this clip, and it is just, I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. His inability to see what he is saying here when he is Don Jr. is just unmatched. So this is some craziness right here.
Imagine, look at how the media protects Joe Biden. Joe Biden's on tape in a quid pro quo. Either you fire him in 6 hours or you're not getting the $1 billion. Fire him, you get the $1 billion. Quid pro quo. Then you got, do you know anything about Ukraine? No. Anything about energy? Nope. Oil? Nope. Gas? Nope. Millions of dollars. Oh, that was the guy that Joe demanded to be fired. Yeah. Imagine if that was, your name was Hunter Biden. Except Hunter's
I wish my name was Hunter Biden. I could go abroad, make millions off of my father's presidency. I'd be a really rich guy. It would be incredible. But because my name is Trump, if I took $1.5 from China, not $1.5 billion like Hunter, but $1.5, their heads would explode.
Imagine.
Oh, really? Oh, really? Okay, let's look at this in pieces for a second. Because there's a lot going on here. Which is surprising considering it's coming out of Don Jr.'s mouth. There usually isn't anything going on here. But
imagine
just
6 hours or
let's start with
quid pro quo. Know anything about oil? Nope. Gas? Nope. Millions of dollars. Oh, that was the guy that Joe demanded to be fired. Yeah. Imagine.
Now, by the way, Hunter Biden receiving a ton of money from a Ukrainian gas company for being Joe Biden's son is obviously a huge problem and is a perfect example of how nepotism plays in politics and just the position that the children of powerful people have in the world simply because they are the children of powerful people. So no one here is defending Hunter Biden. But Don Jr. to then go this far is just something else.
Imagine if that was, your name was Hunter Biden. Except
I wish my name was Hunter Biden. I could go abroad, make millions off of my father's presidency. I'd be a really rich guy. It would be incredible.
I'd be a really rich guy if I were Joe Biden's son, if I were Hunter. But what the hell is going on here? Like, this is what I struggle with. Because Don Jr. is clearly an idiot, but he has to at least know what he is saying here is just insane, considering he is the son of Donald Trump. He is literally Donald Trump Jr. This is why anybody even knows who he is. This is why he has any money at all. Yet he would be a really rich guy if he was Hunter Biden's son. I mean, maybe Trump is even more poor than we thought initially, because there's a lot of speculation out there that Trump is not actually a billionaire. He doesn't actually have all that much money. I mean, he may have, a couple hundred, which is a lot of money, but compared to what he's selling himself as, he actually doesn't. So maybe Don Jr. is actually poor, and he would be richer if he was Hunter Biden. But then he takes it a step further and claims that this.
Not 1.5 billion, like $0.5. Because my name is Trump, if I took $1.5 from China, not 1.5 billion like Hunter, but $1.5, their heads would explode.
Okay. He's taken a lot of money from foreign nations. Let's go to Vox here. So him acting like he's completely innocent while Hunter Biden's the one that's corrupt, just nuts. Let's start with this. For instance, just weeks ago, Forbes reported that Eric and Donald Jr. have sold more than 100 million of the family's real estate since the January 2017 inauguration, including a $3.2 million deal in the Dominican Republic last year. That is the clearest violation of their father's pledge to do no foreign deals while in office. Foreign money has also poured into the Trump International Hotel, located just blocks from the White House, which the president's most recent financial disclosure indicated made him $41 million last year alone. Really rich guy. In August, the New York Times reported that a $1.7 billion Trump Organization project in Indonesia received a $500 million infusion from a state-owned Chinese construction company. If I took $1 from China, how about $500 million? And it's not just Eric and Donald Jr. Ivanka Trump, despite working in the White House, continues to do business in China as well. And her husband, White House advisor Jared Kushner, received a massive cash infusion from Qatar last year. So there you go. We're living in a world where facts don't matter. And I know, this was obvious 3 years ago when Trump won. It was obvious even before that. But for Donald Trump's son to go on television and act like nepotism is a big deal, and if he was Hunter Biden, he would be so wealthy, and if he took money from China, we'd all be freaking out about it. It's been going on the whole time. And he's on television pretending that it's a Hunter Biden issue. No, it's an everybody issue. All of you people who have power, who are born into wealth, are disgusting. The children of wealthy people oftentimes are the worst people in the world. Now, not all of you. I'm sure there are some of you that are good, that we don't hear about, that do nice things. But when it comes to people like Hunter Biden or Don Jr., it's obvious how much they've benefited from their fathers. So that's that. Good. I'm making good time here. I got a half an hour to play with. Let me play this video. Actually, I got 2 more videos to get to before I take more super chats and chats in general. Let me show this first. So I don't have much prep for this. I actually haven't watched this whole video, but Ilhan Omar is usually pretty dope. So, and by the way, Public Citizen, follow them as well. They always post awesome clips from committee hearings oftentimes, and it's good stuff. So, Ilhan Omar. Congress forced the American people to bail out Wall Street. Why shouldn't Wall Street make a return on that investment and bail out American students? I am completely on board. Again, Bernie Sanders supports canceling student debt, and Ilhan Omar has endorsed Bernie Sanders. Let's watch this.
The chance to address the rising cost of college in this country was an important part of why I sought a place on this committee, and in fact, it was one of the reasons that drove me to run for office in the first place. I'm so very pleased to be marking up a bill that makes education more affordable for future students and their families. But we cannot only address the needs of tomorrow's students, we must also take action to help the millions of graduates who are struggling with the burden of student debt. This is why earlier this year, I introduced a bill that would cancel all student loan debt, giving more than 40 million Americans a fair shot at economic prosperity. After all, Congress forced the American people to bail out Wall Street. Why shouldn't Wall Street make a return on that investment and bail out American students? But when I introduced that legislation, the questions I heard from everyone was how? How can we possibly do this bill? Where would we start, and how would we be able to implement this? So today, I am proposing an amendment to H.R. 4674 to answer those questions. My amendment would establish a commission tasked with studying the real-life, long-term impact of student debt on both borrowers and our economy as a whole. The commission would also study how student debt cancellation could be structured and what impact it would have on economic growth, income inequality, and the racial wealth gap. Ultimately, the commission would compile their findings and make recommendation to Congress on how to undertake debt cancellation program. A study might seem like a small step, but that step would mean a lot to the 45 million who can't afford to buy a home or retire because they are still struggling to pay off their education. That study would be a promise to all those who have been left behind by a two-tier education system, one for rich families who can afford tens of thousands of dollars for higher education, and another for the poor middle class who have to pay off that education for the rest of their lives. Student debt isn't the result of bad choices or bad behavior. It's the result of a system that tells students to get an education, go to college in order to have a stable life, but then does not provide the resources to afford that education. I ask my colleagues to think about how many of their constituents are suffering under the current system, and I strongly urge support for my amendment. Thank you, and I yield back.
So there you go. She pretty much covered it. I don't have much to add there. Canceling student debt would be a huge boost, not only to students, but to the economy. And not just students, people that are in their lives that, are 10, 20 years into their lives and are still paying off student debt. So this is how you would actually stimulate the economy, how you would actually get people spending again, because it would free them up to be able to put money back into the economy. This should all be obvious, but Democrats, Republicans fight back against it because, the average voter isn't one of their special interests. Okay, let me, one more video, then I'll get to all the super chats at once. So this is kind of old now, almost a week old, but I didn't cover this last time, so I want to cover this now, or at least want to show it. So T.I. was on The View and appeared to voice his support for Bernie Sanders. So check out this clip here.
That you're outspoken about politics, which we like that here. Who do you like in the? I assume you're a Democrat. Am I wrong?
No. I think I'm bipartisan. I deal with platforms more than I do Democrat and Republican.
Okay,
I'm fair and decent.
Yeah, I need more of that in my life. Mm-hmm. No one's clapping. I'll clap on myself. This is lovely. Thank you. It's hard to say that today.
But who do you like now?
For me, it's anybody but Trump 2020.
Okay. That's what we said.
Yeah. Anyone but Trump.
Yeah,
we say any functioning adult.
Yeah, anyone who's fair and decent and, not an international embarrassment.
Yeah. But if I may just go a little further, is there anyone you think who could actually beat him, really?
Right now, I think that the only person that I see who has a base that's strong enough to oppose him is Bernie.
Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
He's not. Biden has gotten bigger numbers, but the moment.
Biden's got big. But I think that Bernie's base is more passionate. I think they're more passionate.
That's true.
And I think that he's the complete antithesis of what Trump represents.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, but I think he's going to have a strong vice president. Because a lot of people see that his age and his health is a factor. Sure. So I think a strong vice president could relieve some of the doubt that exists.
Maybe Amy Klobuchar.
perhaps, or Andrew Gilliam.
Oh, you like Gillum?
Yeah, I do.
Andrew Gillum.
Okay. Amy Klobuchar. Really, really, Joy. I think Joy was joking. She had a smirk on her face. I hope she knows how dumb that sounded. So I hope it was a joke. But there, T.I. makes the case, and it's obvious. I mean, nobody in the race has anywhere near the movement that Bernie Sanders has. Bernie Sanders crossed the 1 million individual donor mark in September. Nobody's crossed it yet. He is still the only candidate in the race with over 1 million individual donors. Just the donors, so individual people that have given to his campaign. Then on top of that, he has the most individual donations. And then on top of that, he has the most volunteers. He has the most grassroots support by far. It's not even close. The most excitement around him. That is the kind of candidate you need to go up against Donald Trump or any Republican. You need to excite people out to vote because most people agree with Bernie on the issues. Most people are progressive. They just don't see candidates out there voicing their support of these policies like Medicare for all or canceling student debt. So when you have somebody out there pushing people to go out and vote and on a message that is actually bold and for the people, then you're going to get a lot of non-voters out to vote. You're going to reach a lot of people who otherwise have been disillusioned by the system. I feel like this is the most obvious thing in the world. Just looking at the numbers, look at how 2016 played out. Look at how Democrats lost over 1,000 seats over the course of 8 years under Obama and Pelosi. And you look at the excitement that candidates that Bernie Sanders has generated and how he's transformed the conversation around the Democratic Party. I mean, if Bernie's policies weren't popular, then we wouldn't be talking about them now. They would have died in 2016. But they are incredibly popular. And they continue to gain support as people begin to elect Congress people like AOC or Rashida Tlaib or Ilhan Omar. So the more and more Democrats that support this progressive agenda, that support these bold ideas that actually put people in the center of policy and push away corporate money, push away wealthy donors, push away private interests, then you begin to see a transformation in the electorate. You begin to see people come out and be engaged in the process that were not engaged before. This is how you transform the country. There you go. I feel like I usually have a lot more Bernie Sanders stories, but that was pretty much my Bernie story today. Let's get to Super Chats. I got 20 minutes, so get your Super Chats in, and if we're once I get through them, if I get through them, I will touch on some random chats I see in the chat as well. So what's the best way to do this? I'll just go back to here. Okay. I came prepared this time with the Super Chat page. No more searching around for it. All right, I ended on, I believe, Drazen Elez. I think I got everybody else's Super Chat. I'm just reading quickly to see if I did. Yes. Okay. Creative Space sends a Super Chat saying $40 for one vial of insulin in Canada. If you are uninsured in California, it is $400 a vial. This is as of 4 years ago. Prices have probably gone up. Yeah, so there you go. I think it is 10 to 1. So there's one example of how Americans continue getting screwed. And that's just the pharmaceutical industry. Again, we don't have universal pharmacare in Canada, and clearly it's a lot cheaper here, despite that. Zachary Fluke sends Super Chat saying CNN, in CNN's words, Buttigieg in fourth, but a strong fourth. Yeah. So I covered this in my video. Let me just bring it up for those that didn't see it, because it is the funniest thing. Probably the quickest. Actually, I can probably find it. I thought it'd be easier to find this. Let me just bring up my video because I covered it there, and The headline is just, as I say in the video when I covered this, you would never see a poll where Bernie comes in fourth and then CNN calls it a strong fourth. Never. That would never happen. And it shouldn't happen. It's a stupid line. It's a stupid thing to say. But they're clearly pushing for Buttigieg here. Here you go. Buttigieg in fourth, but a strong fourth. This is a poll where Bernie Sanders came in first in New Hampshire. Biden dropped 9 points. Bernie in first. The headline, one of the 5 headlines that didn't mention that Bernie's in first. Buttigieg in fourth, but a strong fourth. Let me show you the other ones in case you didn't see this video. By the way, go watch this video. But let me just give you a little spoiler. So Sanders and Warren sit atop new poll in New Hampshire, but there's no clear frontrunner. Even though another CNN poll, someone showed this afterwards, I wish I included it in this video. There's a CNN poll where Warren's ahead by 2 points in first, and the CNN headline says Warren's in first, or says something like Warren now, way ahead in first. Yet in this poll, Bernie's ahead by, I believe, 3 or 4 points. No clear frontrunner. It's just constant. This is what the media keeps doing. They're either ignoring him. In most cases, they're ignoring him or they're smearing him. A disappointing poll for Biden, which it was. That's a fair headline. Early state primary voters much more undecided than voters nationally. Okay. Historically unprecedented mess. Why is it a mess? Because Bernie's in first? I mean, it was a poll that is pretty in line with other polls. Just now Bernie's in first instead of second or third. So, yeah, this is what the media does. And the only reason I haven't become, depressed by this or, I don't know, disillusioned by the whole process is because I find a lot of this just funny because it's so on the face ridiculous. How anybody buys any of this crap if they see the data themselves. I don't know. Cannabis Man says, keep up the good work, David. Bernie 2020. Thank you, Cannabis Man. Andre Alexander says, can we talk about how much of a hypocrite Bill Maher is? He used to support Bernie and socialism. Now he acts as if Bernie crapped in his cornflakes. Yeah, I've stopped watching Bill Maher completely. I'll see the clips pop up every now and then on Twitter. That's how I saw the Donnie Deutsch clip that I used this week. But I don't watch the show anymore. It's excruciating, really. And I'm not sure if it's because of... it has to be who he's surrounded by, what he's reading, what he watches. If you watch CNN and MSNBC, you're never thinking about Bernie Sanders because he's almost never talked about. So all of that has to lead up to Bill Maher being just a total idiot. Zachary Fluke says, trolls on Twitter love to say Bernie is the establishment and his $2.5 million for a 78-year-old makes him rich and corrupt like other politicians. LOL. People don't understand. The people you should really hold in high regard are the ones that betray their own class. People like Bernie Sanders, who is a millionaire now because of his book deal, and is still fighting for the same thing he's always fought for. It hasn't changed him. Like, think of how dumb their criticism is. Oh, Bernie, you have 3 houses. How dare you fight for healthcare? What you should be doing is selling your soul like everybody else. Like, that's what they're actually arguing for. That because Bernie now has money, well, why aren't you corrupt like the rest of us? So anytime you see an argument criticizing, the coat he wears, which was an actual thing a couple of years ago, he had a coat that was like a nice coat. So all of a sudden, oh, I can't believe he's fighting for Medicare for all. He's wearing a nice coat. Like, none of this makes any sense. FDR, incredibly wealthy, betrayed his own class to fight for the people. You have to hold these people up. Especially someone like Bernie Sanders, who has a 40-year record of fighting for the same thing, has never wavered, has always been a fighter, has challenged power, was the only one willing to challenge the Hillary Clinton candidacy in terms of her politics in 2016. Yes, there were other people in the race that ultimately failed and went nowhere, like O'Malley, but the politics they presented was no real different than what Hillary presented. Bernie was just the complete opposite of Hillary Clinton. He was willing to take her on. He was willing to take on the Clinton machine in 2016 when Elizabeth Warren was too afraid to. That means something. That shows that he is a fighter, and it shows that he will use his power to fight for you. Let me see if there's any more before I go. Henry Volt 35 says, Klobuchar and Buttigieg. Let me get Buttigieg's face off this goddamn screen. It's too much Buttigieg for me. All right. Henry Volt 35 says, Klobuchar and Buttigieg at this point seem to be focusing their campaign efforts to smearing Bernie's policy plans instead of making the case for their own, wanting him to lose more than them to win. Yeah, they are doing that. And look how well they're doing. Klobuchar is what now? 2%, but a strong 2%. Buttigieg in fourth, but a strong fourth. Their ideas aren't popular. And the only reason Joe Biden is first or second in most polls is because of name recognition and his attachment to Barack Obama. That's it. Biden's support is incredibly weak, has continued to drop since he's jumped in this campaign. And I don't think he's going to make it. He's not looking good in Iowa. Democratic insiders, I covered this in my the same video where I was discussing the Buttigieg thing. Joe Biden, there are Democratic insiders in Iowa saying Joe Biden has no chance in Iowa. And he's also, I think he's second or third now in New Hampshire, so he's losing support in New Hampshire as well. So he's losing support in the early states. If Joe Biden loses Iowa and New Hampshire, that's it. He's done. The momentum is going to be with whoever wins those races, and I think it's going to be Bernie Sanders. He has grown considerably since his heart attack, amazingly enough. I mean, since his heart attack, he's gotten endorsements, obviously incredibly important endorsements, AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Michael Moore. All these endorsements are major and are incredibly important when it comes to selling your campaign to the American people, because it shows you he has support across the board. He has support in the Rust Belt states that Michael Moore, truly represents. Michael Moore predicted Trump would win in 2016 against Hillary Clinton. One of the few people allowed on television that said that. And he was right. And this time he's saying Bernie will crush Trump. Maybe it's time to listen to the people that were right last time. So this is just, it's obvious. I feel like sometimes I'm just saying the most obvious thing in the world, because I don't know how you don't see this. Once you are presented with the information, presented with how Hillary lost, where she lost, where Bernie won. Bernie won many of the Rust Belt states that Hillary lost to Trump. Bernie won states like West Virginia. Bernie won, Oklahoma? I mean, his support is solid with Democrats. You look at any poll, the vast majority of Democrats love Bernie Sanders. He has high favorables out of anybody in the race, the highest favorables out of anybody in the race. And then you move that message to the non-voters, the ones that aren't being polled in these polls. And it's, again, incredibly popular because he is challenging power. He is challenging the establishment and actually fighting for people and not taking corporate money, not taking wealthy donors. I have to be honest, I think Bernie's going to win. I think Trump is sort of like the complete opposite of what Bernie Sanders is. And I think when you have Bernie up against Trump, it's going to be so clear, and Trump's going to have nothing on him. Because what do you hit Bernie on? Like, really, what is there? He's been consistent. People care about the message. People care about what you fight for. They care about your record. They care about who you represent. They care about where your money's coming from. Bernie's on stage in a debate against Trump, talking about how he doesn't take the money that Trump is taking from special interests, how Bernie is completely grassroots, how he is fighting for these policies he has always fought for. If he brings up how Trump promised everybody health care, that was an actual clip on television in an interview. Trump said, everybody will have health care. You'll all be covered. Total lie. An obvious lie. Bernie can bring these things up in addition to, obviously, the corruption and everything else. I mean, it's going to be a landslide. That's what I think. I could be wrong, but all the evidence is pointing towards that. The hardest race really is the primary. I mean, if it's Bernie against Trump or Bernie against anybody, if Trump gets impeached, which is unlikely, but, if it's Bernie against anybody, it's just going to be a massacre. But the primary is the hardest race to win, because a lot of states you have to be registered to vote. You have to be a Democrat to vote. And that's going to cut down on the numbers. So this is something that also wasn't considered in 2016. I mean, sure, Hillary won with Democrats, but when you bring that message to everybody else and everybody's voting in a general election, independents, people that are largely non-voters, you have to have a strategy to bring out those people. If all you're doing is talking to the die-hard Democratic base that all they care about is voting blue no matter who, you're not gonna win. You need to expand the base. You need to expand past what you already have. So I don't know what the arguments are against this. Really, it blows my mind. I haven't seen any good arguments against this. I think I heard some more super chats. Linda Andrews, $10. Thank you, Linda. Also, I say thank you to Henry for the $10 as well. Generous super chats here. Daniel Jr. says private coverage is taken away from seniors. Is taken away, he says in quotes, from seniors when they turn 65 and are covered by Medicare, and you don't hear any seniors complaining about that. Yeah, exactly. How that line is used is so disingenuous. They're going to take away your health care. No, they're replacing it with better health care that now no longer has out-of-pocket expenses. Now is just guaranteed to you is free at the point of use, where everybody's on the same plan. You take out the profit-making middleman, costs come down. It frees you up when it comes to your job, allows you to leave your job, go somewhere, maybe go back to school, start a business, hire people, not have to worry about giving them health care. There's just levels after levels after levels of how a Medicare for all system would be beneficial for the vast majority of people. I keep saying the vast majority, but beneficial for everybody. Now, if you're incredibly greedy and incredibly wealthy, yeah, you might be bothered by the fact that you are now paying more in your taxes, because the wealthiest people in America would be the only ones paying more through their taxes for Medicare for all than they do currently to a private insurance company. So if you're incredibly greedy, incredibly wealthy, then maybe this bothers you. But otherwise, Medicare for all is the answer. Judson Neff sends a $20 super chat. Very generous. Thank you. Saying, love your show and learning about my neighbors to the north. Thanks for the consistent content and coverage. You're welcome. Which also reminds me, I haven't done a Canadian story in a while, but I feel like after the election, I'm just spent. I mean, the election was such a flop, really, for everybody. If you saw my coverage of that, pretty much nobody won except for the Bloc Québécois, and I have no attachment to that party. So it was just kind of a whatever election. And we're going to have to see how Trudeau governs going forward. If he works closely with the NDP more or the Conservatives more, remains to be seen. Because historically, and especially more recently, the Liberals have been incredibly conservative or neoliberal in their approach to policy, just like the Conservatives have. Daniel Jr., again, awesome. Super chat says Donnie Deutsch is an idiot. What does he think happens to his private insurance when he turns 65? It is taken away and replaced by existing Medicare. Yeah, I'm guessing you're just seeing that Donnie Deutsch video. Yeah, I think Donnie Deutsch knows what he's doing. He's a wealthy ad executive. He inherited his business from his dad. Again, as I was saying earlier, the kids of rich people turn out to be assholes a lot of the time. So Donnie Deutsch inherited his business, is worth over $200 million now. He's an ad executive, yet he's invited on to talk about politics. He has his own show on MSNBC. Maybe it's canceled now because nobody's watching it. But, like, why? Why was this guy ever allowed on television to talk about politics? It's all just connections. Just being born into wealth and knowing the right people. All of a sudden, He's on television as an authority figure when it comes to the issue of American politics. Absurd. Okay. I got to go really soon. I think I got the last super chat. If there's more. No, there's more. There's more. Pat the Batman fan says, we need a dark, gritty reboot of the Beachcombers. Okay. I got nothing to add there, but there you go. Thank you, Pat. So I got 4 minutes left. Oh, there's more coming in. Jezebel says, $10. Thank you, Jezebel. Says, thank you, Rational National. Left is best. Happy Halloween. Yes, left is indeed best. And happy Halloween. So I'll take as many super chats as they come in before 4:30. Once it hits 4:30, I can't guarantee you anything because I got to log off. But let me, more coming in now. Solanus sends $10. Thank you so much. That's a Canadian $10. Hello, fellow Canadian. Oh, they're pouring in now. I'm hearing, I'm not sure if you guys hear that notification. I used to have it up all the time. I'm not sure if it would work now if I put it on. I'm going to have it on to see if it pops up. I don't know if it will, though. But it's Bernie saying, when you have rational national priorities, because he said that once. And I thought, hey, that was cool. Maybe he watches the show. Or maybe he just formed a sentence and those two words were in it. But either way, it was pretty cool. All right, let me go to the chat. The random chat. The big chat. How does Canada pay for their health care? Is it a tax? That's from Kells. Yes, and it's within our taxes. Puppet Image says, why don't you speak French, David? Because I don't. I think there's this misconception that like, oh, most Canadians speak French. Nope, not true. I do not speak French. I took it for 9 years in elementary school. I think maybe not 9 years. I think it starts at grade 4 or something, grade 4 or 5. But then it goes to grade 9. After grade 9, I was done with French. It'd be cool to learn another language. I just don't. I feel like that almost requires like a different kind of, I don't know, brain. I've just never been able to retain other languages. I've even tried learning Spanish, though that was through an app. So I think the best way to really learn another language is to be immersed in that country, that culture, that language by living in it. So unless I did that, I don't think I would pick up another language. New member. What's up, Mike Steven? Thank you for becoming a member. I think I heard more super chats. Let me check. Don't worry, as long as you get your super chat in by 4:30, I will get to it. Abe Halpert says, hey, appreciate the Bernie coverage with the raised fist and a fire. Thank you. I also appreciate my Bernie coverage. There is not enough. This is why I cover him so much. If you're wondering why the hell is like every other video of Bernie Sanders, he's not covered in the press. So I feel like I almost have to help him catch up by doing like more stories where they're not covering him. At the same time, I don't want to turn into like just a Bernie channel, but it is important to get his message out there, especially right now as the primary is about to, the voting's about to start. Corey Del Bovo says, love you, man. Seriously great content. We will win. I agree. I like to be optimistic, and that doesn't mean get your hopes up, but it means understand that there is, the world can be a great place if we believe it can be a great place and get involved and try and change it. So don't get bogged down by all the negativity. And there is a lot, and it's very easy, especially if you're on Twitter. I know, because I'm on Twitter all the time. It oftentimes makes me feel crappy just because of the news that pops up. But there's you can't get bogged down by negative stories or how, Bernie Sanders, for example, is covered or not covered in the press. We are stronger together if we get our message out there, inform people in your lives, If you're informed on these issues, work to inform other people in your life on these issues. We all have to take responsibility with that. Okay, it's 4:31. Super chat's done. Thank you so much. Let me pull out one random chat, see if I can. Did I pronounce your name right? Corey Del Bovo said one person to actually pronounce my name right. I pronounce every name wrong, so if I pronounce your name right, then I'm as surprised as you are. I'm looking for another chat to talk about. Don't worry, Melissa, you can go back and watch the whole show. It'll be up. Frankfurt McGillicuddy says, how do you feel about Marianne Williamson 2020? I don't hate her. I think she means well a lot of the time. Can you hear my stomach rumbling? I think she means well. I think her message is largely positive. I don't like, harping on anybody who has a positive message who is trying to uplift people. I don't think it makes sense to, get angry at those people or anything. At the same time, if she is still in this race, she needs to drop out and endorse Bernie Sanders. Just why is she wasting her time? Okay. That's it. The new member is from Vancouver. Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Mike, Stephen. All right, cool. Thank you so much for joining me again. I'm not here tomorrow. I got stuff to do. Personal matters to attend to. But usually it's every Friday is a live stream. Every Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern on therationalnational.com or youtube.com/therationalnational. Same place. And yeah. All right. Thanks for joining me, and goodbye.